Hello, and thanks for joining me. Well, you may remember last week or week before last, I put nylon gears in my South Bend lathe, and the purpose was to make the gears quiet. Well, it did help a lot, but I made a discovery that if I put 90 weight or better yet 600 weight oil in there, it really gets a lot quieter. But it lasts about 15-20 minutes, and then it starts getting noisy again. So what I'm going to do is make a recirculating oil thing. So I can lubricate it and it drips into a reservoir, and then I can lubricate it again. And this is my pump. I thought about putting an electric pump or gear driven pump on it, but this is going to work pretty good. It'll be a one-shot lubrication, but I got to mount it on a reservoir. But the first thing I got to do is make an adapter that fits in here that will have a 1/8-inch pipe coming out of it to suck oil up from a reservoir. So we're going to make that thing right now. And I basically got to make a slug of steel to screw in there. And I've measured these threads. They're kind of an oddball diameter, 1 3/8 I think. But it's 16 threads per inch, or really close to it. So that's what we're going to do now. Okay, I just did the math, and to get this the right diameter, I got to take off 63,000. Okay, I've touched off and reset my dial. Slow that down just a little bit. Perfect. Now I've got to make an undercut to end my threads. I'll just use this tool. Okay, now I got to set my gearbox for 16 threads per inch. Okay, we're touching right there, 16 threads per inch. I can throw it in anywhere. On any line, rather. Well, I can't try this on there, not without taking rivets out of this thing. Well, we're taking a chance. Hallelujah. Looking good. Okay, I made the threads a little extra long, and I made the whole thing a little extra long. Won't hurt it to be extra long, but I'm going to take a little bit of it off. Okay, this is 2-inch stock, and that's 2 inches is going to be the depth of my oil tank. And this is going to sit inside the oil tank like that. So I need a pickup hole so it picks up oil from the bottom of the tank right here. And I've got this snug on there, tight actually. It's not wrench tight. And I want that hole right there. Okay, I'm going to drill a 3/16 hole there and thread that for 1/4 right there and right there. That'll mount this whole system on the side of the tank. Okay, these will be 1/4 20. Okay, I'm going to drill this just a little bit deeper so that it intersects with the pickup hole there. Well, here we go. That's the pickup hole on the bottom when I tighten it all the way. I got oil on my hands, I can't tighten it. That'll be the mounting bolt on the side, and that'll be the pickup hole down there. That's to mount it on the side of the tank. Okay, this is going to be my tank right here. It's 3x3 tubing. It's a combination tank and a drip pan. I've got a couple of plates on the end. I'm going to weld them on and then cut it in half lengthwise to make it into a pan. And I've got to make sure it's oil tight, so it's got to be good welds, which could be a challenge for me. Okay, this bracket here is to support the pan. It's going to bolt to my motor bracket. It'll hang just like that. And I need to weld a ledge in here, like right here. I'm going to put a piece of filter material in there, and then when it drips out of my gear cover, it will land on the filter material right there and filter the oil before it goes back into the pump. Or that's the theory anyway. Okay, now I've got to make a manifold. It screws onto the output right there. And it'll sit like that, and it'll have 3 outputs right here for the 3 oil lines. I've got this tubing I'm going to hook onto there. I've got some fittings on the way. Should be here today. And they will attach to these. I'm wondering if I need to make that, instead of making them come out here, make them come out here, because that goes toward the back of my cover. I'm going to do that. First I got to drill through this, and then I'm going to put a hole there for the output, and then put 3 right here for my fittings and oil lines. Okay, I'm going to thread the ends of this manifold because I've got to put a plug in the ends. Okay, I gotta drill 4 holes and tap them to an 1/8 inch pipe thread. Maybe that's going to work. Yeah, you probably couldn't see from the other camera angle, but I bolted that there, and that's being held by that bracket. Looks kind of flimsy, but it's plenty strong. Now all we got to do is hook the fittings to this and run run copper lines to each gear path. There's one on the reverse gear, there's one on this intermediate, and then there's one right here. So it's 3 lines that'll be running up. Then I'll be able to just give it a squirt like that and lubricate all my gears. Okay, the tank is still, the paint's still wet, and I want to make sure it's good and dry before we put oil in it. We're going to see if this thing works. I sure hope so. I hope after I get all the air out of it that it is reliable. Well, I pumped about, well, whatever's in the pan right there through this pump. And it's going to work, but it's still getting air in there. Maybe that's just the way it is. And I think it'll work okay. Maybe eventually the air will come out of it. Don't understand where it's coming from. Don't want to run a copper tube through my gear train. Well, there it is, replumbed. Got that top one going up here to the reverse lever. And the other two are going around here There's one between those two gears, and then one between those two gears. And when I pump, they get oil. Right there, and in the back. And that oil, if I get that guard on there pretty quick, will be caught inside the guard and channeled back into the reservoir. And it looks like the guard clears all the oil lines really well. That's a good thing. Still got some noise, but I can live with that. Now when I pump oil, the only thing I'm worried about is right here. Everything else should stay contained within the guard and drip back into the reservoir. So let's see if we can make it come. Oh, look at that. You hear that difference? It got quiet. I like it. Now I got to figure out some kind of filter material to put over this reservoir. Thought about putting a magnet in there too. That'll keep the steel from getting sucked up in the pump. Oh, I like it. It gets quieter every time I pump it. And I can pump it all I want because I'm not wasting oil now. It gets recycled. And as planned, it's dripping back into the reservoir. I like it. Well, that about wraps it up. If you do something like this, consider using an oil can instead of a grease gun. For some reason, the grease gun, although it's working fairly good now, I had a heck of a time getting it to not pump air. It's working good now though. Every time I pump it, it makes it quieter. Maybe I need to try something like STP. Here's what I'm using in there now. 600 weight. This is Max Antique Classic Car Auto Parts. Probably fairly similar to STP. Anyway, thanks for joining me. Be sure and subscribe and ring that bell.